What if I told you that some horror movies aren't just lost to time, but were actively erased? I'm not talking about films that just flopped. I'm talking about movies that were so contentious, so supposedly dangerous, that powerful people went to incredible lengths to make sure you would never ever see them. From government raids to mysterious fires, today we're unearthing the horror movies they tried to wipe from history. In the shadows of film history lies a graveyard of forbidden movies. These aren't just obscure titles, they're celluloid ghosts, casualties of moral panics, political agendas, and corporate anxieties. For every horror classic that hits the screen, there's another that was butchered by censors, seized by authorities, or even turned to ash, its story silenced. Today, we're going beyond simple bans. We're digging into the vaults and pulling back the curtain on the institutions that decided what you were and were not allowed to watch. These are the horror movies they tried to erase from history, and the shocking reasons why. Let's start with what many call the holy grail of lost cinema, the 1927 silent masterpiece, London After Midnight. Directed by the legendary Todd Browning and starring the man of a thousand faces, Lon Chaney, the film was a sensation. It told the story of a detective who goes undercover, disguised as a ghoulish, beaver hat-wearing figure with a terrifying grin of shark-like teeth. Chaney's look was so iconic that it has haunted pop culture for nearly a century, and yet you can't watch it. No complete copy is known to exist. So what happened? Was it just lost to time? The truth is far more tragic. The blame largely falls on the studio that created it, MGM. As silent films gave way to talkies, studios saw their old movies as little more than a storage problem. In a disastrous house cleaning effort, it's believed MGM intentionally destroyed the master negative. The final nail in the coffin came decades later. The last known complete print was stored in MGM's Vault 7. On August the 10th, 1965, a fire, likely caused by an electrical short, tore through the facility. The vault, which was packed with highly flammable nitrate film and didn't even have a sprinkler system, went up in flames, along with hundreds of other films. The last print of London After Midnight was gone forever. While some have whispered about a convenient accident, historians generally agree it was a case of gross negligence, not a conspiracy. The result is the same. One of the most important horror films ever made was erased. All that's left are production stills and a script, leaving us with only a phantom of Chaney's terrifying performance. Just because a film survives doesn't mean it survives in one piece. Take James Whale's 1935 masterpiece, Bride of Frankenstein. Today, it's considered a cornerstone of horror, but the version we have is a shadow of Whale's original vision, thanks to one of the most powerful censorship bodies in Hollywood history, the Hays Code. The Hays Code enforced a rigid moral rulebook on filmmakers, and Bride of Frankenstein broke almost every rule. Censors were horrified by its themes of blasphemy, especially the scene where Dr. Pretorius toasts a new creation, declaring, "To a new world of gods and monsters." They also took issue with the film's violence. There was even a scene scripted where the monster, seeing a statue of Jesus on the cross, mistakes him for another persecuted figure and tries to help him down. This was deemed so unacceptable it was never even filmed, though you can still spot the crucifix in the background of the final cut. The censors went to work with their scissors, cutting an estimated 5 to 10 minutes from the movie. This included a whole subplot where a villain named Carl was a murderer who framed the monster for his crimes. Dozens of shots of violence were trimmed, and even the bride's costume was considered too risque. While restoration efforts have pieced together some of what was lost, the original uncut version, James Whale's complete vision, has never been recovered. The Hays Code didn't just want to edit the film, it wanted to erase its most challenging ideas. The Hays Code wasn't the only moral police in town. Religious groups held huge power, and few were as feared as the Catholic National Legion of Decency. Their C for Condemned rating could sink a film financially. In 1944, director Lewis Allen's moody ghost story, The Uninvited, found itself in the Legion's crosshairs. On its face, the film was a classic haunted house tale. A brother and sister buy a seaside manor in Cornwall, only to find it's plagued by ghosts. But the Legion saw something more. They objected to what they called erotic and esoteric elements, hinting at a subtle lesbian subtext in the relationship between one of the spirits and a living character. The pressure from the Legion was intense, forcing the studio Paramount to be cautious. While some accounts of this controversy have been exaggerated over the years, and there's no hard evidence of major reshoots or a lost original cut, it's clear the film's marketing and presentation were toned down to appease the moral watchdogs. The version of The Uninvited we have today is the one that passed the censors. Its more progressive themes push deep into the subtext to avoid condemnation, a clear example of how the threat of censorship can force a film to hide its true self. Some lost films become the stuff of legend. That's the case with Dracula Halala, or Dracula's Death, a 1921 Hungarian silent film. It holds the fascinating distinction of being the very first time Dracula ever appeared on screen, predating even Nosferatu. The plot wasn't a straight adaptation of Bram Stoker's novel. Instead, it was a surreal story about a woman who meets an asylum inmate who believes he is the infamous Count. The film reportedly played in theaters across Europe, but after 1923, it simply vanished. For decades, it's been considered completely lost, with only a few photos and a novelization to prove it existed. But this is where the story takes a mysterious turn. A tantalizing rumor has persisted for years that a print of the film survived and was confiscated by the Hungarian government during the communist era, then locked away in a secret state archive. It's a great story, but unfortunately, most film archivists and historians dismiss it as a legend. Searches have turned up nothing, and claims of its survival have often been traced back to the novelization, not the actual film. Whether it was a victim of political suppression or simply the passage of time, its status as a piece of hidden media makes Dracula's Death a powerful symbol of how easily cultural history can be lost. In the early 1980s, the VCR brought horror directly into our homes, and with it came a massive moral panic in the United Kingdom, known as the Video Nasty Scare. Right in the middle of this storm was a low-budget, super gory cabin-in-the-woods film from a young director named Sam Raimi, The Evil Dead. At the time, the UK had no rating system for home videos, which allowed uncut films to be sold directly to the public. Moral crusaders, with the help of the tabloid press, were outraged. They claimed these movies would corrupt the youth and lead to real-world violence. The government responded with the Obscene Publications Act, giving police the power to prosecute anyone distributing films deemed obscene. The Director of Public Prosecutions released a list of 72 films to be seized, and The Evil Dead was on it. Police raided video stores across the country, confiscating and destroying thousands of tapes through shredding or pulping. The uncut version of The Evil Dead was effectively erased from legal circulation in the UK for years. This wasn't just censorship. It was an active campaign that turned video store owners into criminals and a horror movie into illegal contraband. Few films have provoked as much official outrage as Mayor Zarchi's 1978 film I Spit on Your Grave. It's a brutal, unflinching story of a woman who is assaulted and then, after surviving, enacts a horrifyingly graphic revenge on her attackers. The movie was so controversial that it wasn't just edited, it was banned outright by entire countries. Upon its release, national censorship boards lined up to condemn it. Ireland, Norway, and Iceland were among the nations that completely outlawed the film for its graphic violence. It was famously denounced by critics like Roger Ebert, who called it a vile bag of garbage. These governments and critics weren't just giving it a bad review. They were trying to prevent anyone from seeing it, claiming it was a danger to society. The argument was that the film's depiction of rape revenge was too raw and could incite copycat violence. While several nations independently banned it, some of those bans have since been lifted. For example, after being banned for decades, Germany finally allowed an uncut release in 2000, and Ireland followed suit in 2010. Still, the film remains a prime example of how authorities will attempt to erase a film they deem too uncomfortable for the public. Sometimes, the force that tries to erase a film isn't the government, but the public itself. Joel M. Reed's 1976 film, Blood-Sucking Freaks, is the ultimate example. It's a bizarre and grotesquely violent satire about an off-Broadway theater where a sadistic master of ceremonies tortures and murders people in real time on stage. The film's mix of over-the-top gore, including a scene where a man's brains are sucked out with a straw, and its deeply misogynistic tone sparked immediate outrage. In New York City, feminist groups like Women Against Pornography organized massive protests, picketing theaters and demanding the film be pulled. The public pressure campaign was so huge it generated more official complaints than almost any other film of its time. This public outrage led to official action. Authorities began seizing prints from theaters, and the film was tied up in legal battles for years. The Motion Picture Association of America, MPAA, refused to grant the uncut version and rating. Later, when the distributor Troma Entertainment acquired the film and self-applied an rating to the box, the MPAA successfully forced them to remove it. The film was so reviled that a combination of public protest and legal challenges tried to scrub it from existence. These stories are just the tip of the iceberg. For every film we know was suppressed, how many more were erased so completely that we don't even know their names? The history of horror is filled with these ghosts, and it's a powerful reminder that the art we see is often shaped by unseen forces. If you find these hidden histories as fascinating as we do, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're always digging for more forgotten stories. Let us know in the comments. What do you think? Should films like these be controlled to protect public morality, or should all art, no matter how controversial, be preserved? From the Hays Code's moral crusade to the video nasty panic, the story is often the same. Powerful institutions trying to control what we fear and how we see it. These weren't just cases of bad reviews or flops. These were active campaigns of suppression, driven by fear, politics, and a desire to control the narrative. Studios let negatives burn, censors cut the heart out of a story, and governments made criminals out of distributors. While some of these films have clawed their way back from obscurity, many remain fragmented or altered, their full power forever blunted by the censor's scissors or the flames of a vault fire. It raises a final chilling question. If these are the movies they tried to erase that we know about, what else is still buried, waiting in the darkness to be found? Myth or reality? Find out in the comments.